fire pops in the stove, heat crawling back into old scars the cold still knows by name. I learned something after the teams. Brothers. Peace can look clean on the outside, like a safe zone. But the quiet can be louder than gunfire if you listen right. Because monsters do not retire. Sometimes they just change clothes and learn to smile. So let me ask you this. When the world backs a good person into a corner, do you run or do you hold the line? Down in Savannah, a 7-month pregnant woman named Mia Parker got trapped in a crowded cafe while everyone looked away. A man with money and a polished suit, Logan Pierce, smirked like she was nothing. Then a limping former SEAL in a red and black flannel moved one chair, and a service dog stood guard. A camera caught the truth, and minutes later, the powerful man started to fall. Sit down, brothers. Let me tell you how to survive the kind of fight that starts in silence. The chair no one touched. Rain slid down the brick streets of Savannah, turning the old sidewalks dark and slick as morning crept in from the river, heavy with salt air and low clouds. The cafe near the historic district was already crowded. Tourists clutched paper cups. Locals stared into phones. Chairs were packed too close together, legs tangled like roots. In the middle of it all stood Mia Parker, 7 months pregnant, trying to move forward without drawing attention to herself. She was 28, with long, light brown hair pulled into a loose tie that never stayed neat. Her face was soft, but tired, the kind of tired that came from more than lack of sleep. Her sweater hung a little too big over her belly. She held her coat tight with one hand, the other braced against a chair that refused to budge. Mia hated moments like this, not because she needed help, but because help never came. People looked, calculated inconvenience, then looked away. She felt a familiar heat in her eyes and forced herself to breathe. Not here. Not now. A man in a tailored gray suit stood blocking the narrow aisle. He was in his mid-30s, well-groomed. Sharp haircut, polished shoes. Logan Pierce, the kind of man who carried confidence like a weapon. He glanced at Mia, then deliberately turned his body, pretending not to see her. Mia felt something inside her tighten. She could ask, she knew that. But asking meant accepting the small humiliation she had learned too well. So she waited, heart pounding, rain tapping against the windows like quiet laughter. The door opened behind her. Ethan Caldwell stepped inside with a measured gait, his left leg dragging just enough to notice. He was 40, tall, broad-shouldered, built solid from years of discipline rather than display. A red and black flannel shirt stretched across his frame, worn but clean. Faded jeans, brown work boots marked by use. At his side walked a large German shepherd, black and tan, calm and alert, wearing a black harness clearly marked. Service dog. Do not pet. Ethan paused, scanning the room the way he always did. Old habits never left him. He noticed the tight spacing of chairs, the man blocking the aisle, the pregnant woman standing too still, shoulders drawn inward like she was bracing for impact. He did not sigh. He did not hesitate. Ethan reached down, gripped the back of a chair, and pulled it aside. Then another. Wood scraped softly against the floor, loud enough to cut through the cafe noise. Conversations faltered. Heads turned. "There you go," he said, voice low and steady. Mia looked up, startled. Their eyes met. He wasn't staring at her belly. He wasn't offering pity. He looked at her the way one adult looks at another, calm and direct, as if this were the most normal thing in the world. "Thank you," she said, surprised by how shaky her voice sounded. Ethan nodded once. "Take your time." Beside him stood a small girl with a pink jacket and a backpack smudged with old paint. Ava Caldwell, 7 years old, watched Mia with open curiosity rather than judgment. Her brown hair was tied back messily, her fingers faintly stained purple and blue. "You can sit here," Ava said, pulling out a chair with serious effort. "It's better by the window." Mia laughed, despite herself. It slipped out before she could stop it. A short, breathless sound that felt strange in her chest. She eased into the chair. The space around her suddenly felt larger, lighter. The man in the gray suit shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting as people began to stare at him instead. Logan cleared his throat, forced a smile, and moved away. He did not look back. Ethan sat at the next table, the dog settling at his feet without command. Ava climbed into her chair, already digging crayons from her bag. For a moment, no one spoke. Mia stared down at her hands resting on her belly. She had come here to kill time before work, to calm herself before another meeting with people who spoke in polite threats. She hadn't expected this. She didn't know what to do with it. "I'm Mia," she said finally, feeling foolish for the need to say something. "Ethan," he replied. "This is Ava." Ava smiled. "Hi." There was something about Ethan that felt anchored, like a post driven deep into the ground. Mia recognized that look in his eyes. She had seen it in mirrors late at night. The look of someone who had lost something and learned how to keep going anyway. Outside, the rain softened. Inside, the café returned to its noise. But something had shifted. Ethan stood after a moment, leaving a folded napkin on the table. "If you ever need help fixing something," he said simply, "the number's there." He did not wait for an answer. Mia watched him leave, the dog walking close at his side. Ava skipping to keep up. She unfolded the napkin. A name, a number, block letters, neat and deliberate. For the first time that morning, the tightness in her chest eased. She didn't know it yet, but the chair no one wanted to move had just changed everything. The man who never missed. By late afternoon, the rain had thinned into a gray mist drifting in from the river, clinging to the streets of Savannah like a memory that refused to leave. Mia Parker stood behind the reception desk of the boutique hotel near River Street, shoulders tight, palms damp. The lobby smelled of polished wood and citrus cleaner. Tourists passed through with rolling suitcases and careless laughter, unaware of how fragile her balance felt inside. She adjusted her posture, one hand resting lightly on her belly. 7 months. Every movement reminded her she was carrying more than weight. She was carrying responsibility, fear, a future she had promised herself she would protect, no matter how small her world had become. "Mia." The voice was smooth, confident, practiced. She turned to see Logan Pierce approaching from the hallway leading to the executive offices. He was 36, tall, clean-cut, with a face that belonged on marketing material. His dark suit fit perfectly, his tie flawless, the kind of man who looked successful even when standing still. "Mr. Pierce," Mia said quietly. Logan smiled. It never reached his eyes. "Walk with me," he said, already turning. It wasn't a request. They moved down the corridor together. Mia felt the subtle shift in power with every step. Logan walked easily, hands relaxed, as if the building itself belonged to him. He slowed his pace just enough to stay ahead of her, never beside. "I heard about the café this morning," Logan said casually. "Quite a scene." Mia's stomach tightened. "I didn't cause any trouble." "No," Logan replied, glancing back. "You didn't, but appearances matter, especially here." They stopped outside his office. Glass walls, minimalist furniture, a view of the river that glittered even under gray skies. Logan gestured for her to sit. Mia lowered herself carefully into the chair, already sensing the imbalance. He remained standing. "You're good at your job," Logan said. "Guests like you. You're polite, reliable." He paused, but pregnancy complicates things. Mia lifted her chin. "I can still work. I have been. For now," Logan said. "But long term, we need flexibility, availability." She recognized the language, soft words, hard meaning. "There's also the baby," he continued. "Have you thought about what's best for him?" Mia felt heat rise behind her eyes. "That's my concern." Logan's smile sharpened. "Everything here is my concern. He leaned back against the desk. I'm prepared to offer you an arrangement, one that makes things easier. He slid a folder across the desk. Mia did not open it. I don't need an arrangement, she said. Logan's eyes hardened for a fraction of a second before smoothing again. Everyone does, especially people without leverage. Mia stood. Her legs trembled, but she stayed upright. I'd like to return to work. Logan nodded, unbothered. We'll talk again. Outside, the mist thickened into rain. Mia stepped through the hotel doors and into the street, breath coming fast. She told herself to keep moving. Just get home. Just breathe. She didn't see the slick patch of stone near the steps. Her foot slid. Pain shot through her side as she stumbled forward. Hands flying out instinctively. The world tilted. Sound rushed in like water. Hey! Strong arms caught her before she hit the ground. Mia gasped, clutching at fabric. Red and black flannel. She looked up into Ethan Caldwell's face, close enough now to see the fine lines at the corners of his eyes. The gray threaded through his beard. His jaw was set, his focus absolute. Behind him stood the German shepherd, unmoving, alert. Rain darkening his fur. The black harness gleamed wetly. Service dog. Do not pet. Ethan lowered her carefully, one arm firm around her shoulders. Easy, he said. I've got you. Her heart pounded too fast. I'm sorry. I didn't. Don't, he interrupted gently. You didn't do anything wrong. Across the street, Logan Pierce stood under the hotel awning, watching. His expression flickered with annoyance before settling into polite distance. He turned away. Mia saw it. The dismissal, the certainty that this moment meant nothing. Ethan followed her gaze, then looked back at her. Something dark passed behind his eyes. Recognition. You hurt? He asked. Just shaken, she said, though her hands trembled. Ethan nodded once. He guided her toward his truck parked nearby. Ava sat inside, her face pressed to the window, eyes wide with concern. Dad, she called as he opened the door. She slipped. Ethan said calmly, She's okay. Ava relaxed instantly. Do you need water? She asked Mia, already unbuckling. Mia managed a smile. That would be nice. As they waited for the rain to ease, Mia felt the weight of the day settle over her. The office. The folder. Logan's smile. Ethan stood nearby, rain dripping from his flannel, one hand resting lightly on the truck door. He didn't ask questions. He didn't rush her. For the first time since morning, Mia felt safe enough to let the fear show. And across the street, Logan Pierce felt something else entirely. A faint irritation. The first hairline crack. The number on the napkin. Night settled over Savannah with damp air and distant thunder. The rain returning and slow. Heavy drops that darkened the streets and pressed against the windows like a warning. Mia Parker's apartment was quiet in the way loneliness often was. Too quiet. The kind of silence that made every sound feel too loud once it arrived. The place was small, narrow hallway, low ceiling, furniture arranged more from necessity than comfort. The paint near the window peeled in thin curls, and the floor tilted slightly near the kitchen sink. Mia moved carefully, one hand braced against the wall, the other resting on her belly, as if she could shield the baby from the world outside. She lowered herself onto the couch and closed her eyes. The meeting with Logan replayed in her head, sharper, now that the day had ended. His voice had been smooth, controlled. But underneath, it had been something colder. Ownership, certainty, the kind that came from never being told no. She had told herself she would endure it, smile, survive. She always did. But when she stood again, her foot caught the edge of the rug. The fall wasn't dramatic. It was worse than that. Slow, unavoidable. Her balance tipped forward, hands flying out too late. She hit the floor on her side. The breath knocked from her chest. Pain flared. Not blinding, but deep enough to freeze her in place. Mia lay still, staring at the ceiling. Her heart hammered. The baby kicked once, then again. Panic surged, hot and fast. I'm okay, she whispered. though no one was there to hear it. She tried to push herself up. Her arms shook. The angle was wrong. The couch was just far enough away to be useless. Tears came then. Silent and stubborn, not from the pain, but from the weight of everything she carried alone. Her phone lay on the coffee table, just out of reach. Mia dragged herself forward inch by inch, breath coming in shallow bursts. Her belly made every movement harder, every second longer. When she finally grasped the phone, her fingers trembled so badly she nearly dropped it again. As she turned it over, something slipped free from the back of the case. A folded napkin. She stared at it, recognition cutting through the haze. Ethan Caldwell. A phone number beneath, written in careful block letters. Her chest tightened. She had told herself she wouldn't call, that she didn't need to, that accepting help meant weakness. But lying on the floor of her apartment, rain tapping against the glass, her pride felt very small. Her thumb hovered over the screen. She dialed. The line rang once, twice. "Caldwell," Ethan said. His voice was calm, steady, as if he'd been expecting the call. "I'm sorry," Mia said immediately. "I shouldn't have. Where are you?" he asked gently. She gave the address. He didn't question it. "I'm on my way," he said. "Stay where you are." The call ended. Mia sat back against the wall, phone pressed to her chest. Relief washed through her so fast it left her shaking. 40 minutes later, headlights cut through the rain outside her window. Ethan knocked once, firm but not loud. When Mia opened the door, he was already scanning the room, assessing. Red and black flannel darkened by rain, jeans damp at the cuffs. His German shepherd stood beside him, still and alert, water dripping from his fur, black harness stark against the dim hallway. "Service dog. Do not pet." Ethan took in the scene without comment. The tipped rug, the scrape on Mia's arm, the way she favored one side. "Let's get you up first," he said. He moved slowly, carefully, asking permission with his eyes before touching her. He supported her weight without rushing, guiding her back to the couch. His hands were strong but respectful, never assuming more than she allowed. Mia swallowed hard. "Thank you." He nodded once. "You did the right thing calling." The dog lay down near the door, eyes tracking every movement. Once Mia was settled, Ethan rolled up his sleeves. He didn't ask why she had fallen. He didn't ask about Logan. He simply worked. He fixed the loose leg on the coffee table, tightened the cabinet hinge that always caught her sleeve, moved a chair to widen the path between rooms. Each small adjustment felt like someone acknowledging the way she actually lived, not the way she was expected to. When he finished, he stood back, assessing again. "Better?" he asked. Mia nodded, tears threatening again. This time, they were different. At the door, Ethan paused. "If anyone gives you trouble," he said quietly, "you don't handle it alone." She met his eyes, really looked at him. There was something in his gaze she recognized, a promise that didn't need words. Outside, the rain continued, and somewhere across the city, Logan Pierce slept comfortably, unaware that the ground beneath him had already begun to shift. When the camera kept watch, a hard afternoon sun broke through the clouds, drying the streets too quickly, leaving Savannah warm and uneasy, as if the city itself were holding its breath. Mia Parker had barely slept. The apartment felt different now. Not fixed, not safe, but acknowledged. The furniture no longer blocked her path. The loose hinges were quiet. Ethan's careful work had left a mark more emotional than physical. She told herself it meant nothing. People helped sometimes. That didn't change the world. A sharp knock at the door said otherwise. Mia froze. Another knock followed, firmer this time, controlled, impatient. She knew without looking. When she opened the door, Logan Pierce stood in the hallway, perfectly composed. His suit was dark today, pressed and expensive. His hair immaculate, his smile polite enough to pass inspection. Behind him hovered a man Mia had never seen before, The stranger was in his early 40s, thin, pale, with narrow shoulders and sharp eyes that never stopped moving. His gray blazer hung stiffly on his frame. He carried a leather briefcase like a shield. "This is Daniel Roth," Logan said smoothly. "My attorney." Daniel gave a brief nod. His expression suggested efficiency, not empathy. Mia felt her pulse quicken. "You shouldn't be here." Logan's smile widened slightly. "Let's not make this dramatic." He stepped forward as if the doorway belonged to him. Before Mia could respond, another presence filled the hall. Ethan Caldwell stepped out from the kitchen behind her, red and black flannel, sleeves rolled, his stance relaxed but grounded. At his side, the German Shepherd rose silently, ears forward, body still. The black harness was unmistakable. "Service dog. Do not pet." The air changed. Logan's eyes flicked to Ethan, then to the dog. Just for a second, his confidence wavered. "Is there a problem?" Ethan asked. His voice was calm, flat, the kind that never needed volume. Logan laughed lightly. "This is a private matter. You're standing in her doorway," Ethan replied. "That makes it her matter." Daniel cleared his throat. "We're here to discuss an arrangement." "No," Mia said. Her voice surprised her with its steadiness. "You're here to pressure me." Logan's gaze sharpened. "I'm here to help you make a smart decision." He glanced at Mia's belly, then back to her face. The look was quick, calculated. Ethan noticed. "You should leave," Ethan said. Logan ignored him and stepped closer to Mia. "You don't have the resources for what's coming." "I do. Think about the child." Something inside Mia snapped. "You don't get to talk about my child." Logan's smile vanished. His tone dropped. "You're living in a one-bedroom apartment with no backup plan. You fell outside my hotel yesterday. That doesn't inspire confidence." Ethan moved. He didn't touch Logan. He simply stepped between them, filling the space with his body, forcing distance by presence alone. "That's enough," he said. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Pierce." "Perhaps." Logan waved him off, irritation flashing openly now. "I'm not finished." His hand lifted, gesturing sharply, too sharply. From across the hall, a door opened. A woman stepped out, phone already raised. Mrs. Alvarez, late 50s, short, sturdy, hair pulled back tight. She had the eyes of someone who noticed everything and forgot nothing. "Everything okay out here?" she asked loudly. Logan turned, annoyance hardening his features. "This doesn't concern you." Mrs. Alvarez didn't lower her phone. Logan scoffed. "Typical," he muttered, stepping back. "Play the victim. That's working well for you." Ethan's voice cut through the hallway. "Get out. Now." For the first time, Logan hesitated. Then he laughed. Too loud. "You think this scares me?" He turned to leave, brushing past Mrs. Alvarez, knocking her arm aside. Her phone clattered but didn't fall. The door slammed. Silence followed, heavy and complete. Mia's knees trembled. She sank onto the couch, breath shallow. Ethan crouched in front of her, not touching. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, though tears burned. Mrs. Alvarez leaned in. "I got all of that," she said quietly, tapping her phone. "Audio and video." Ethan looked at her, really looked. "Thank you," he said. She shrugged. Men like that forget people are watching. That evening, the video spread. It started small. A neighborhood group, a shared post, then another. By nightfall, Logan Pierce's name was trending locally. Comments piled up. Questions followed. Screenshots multiplied. People recognized him, recognized the hotel, recognized the pattern. Across the city, Logan stared at his phone, disbelief curdling into anger. Deals stalled. Messages went unanswered. A meeting canceled, then another. For the first time in years, Logan Pierce felt the ground shift beneath him. Instant regret didn't arrive with sirens. It arrived quietly, and it had only just begun. The day the ground answered back. A clear autumn morning settled over Savannah, cool and bright. The air washed clean, as if the city had decided to tell the truth all at once. The courthouse steps were already busy when Mia Parker arrived. She wore a simple navy dress, one hand resting on her belly, the other gripping the strap of her bag. 7 months pregnant, heart steady, spine straighter than she felt. The building loomed pale and solid, promising nothing except judgment. Beside her stood Ethan Caldwell, 40 years old, tall, broad shoulders set beneath his red and black flannel, jeans faded by work and weather, brown boots planted square on stone. His left leg bore its familiar, slight drag, a quiet reminder of roads long behind him. At his heel sat the German Shepherd, 5 years old, black and tan coat sleek, posture alert, the black harness read plainly, "Service dog. Do not pet." Ethan didn't speak. He didn't need to. His presence was a steady weight against Mia's nerves. Across the plaza, Logan Pierce exited a black sedan. He looked smaller today, despite the tailored suit. His tie was perfect, but his smile kept slipping, resetting itself like a mask that no longer fit. He scanned the crowd, searching for something to control. He didn't find it. Inside the courtroom, the air felt tight. Wood benches creaked. Papers shuffled. The judge entered, and the room rose, then settled into silence. At the front sat Nora Bennett, the legal aid attorney who had taken Mia's case. 33. Sharp eyes, calm posture, dark blazer, minimal jewelry. She radiated preparation, the kind built from long nights and stubborn belief. She nodded once to Mia, a quiet reassurance. Logan's lawyer spoke first, words polished and hollow. He framed concern as generosity, power as responsibility. He painted Mia as overwhelmed, unstable, in need of guidance she had not asked for. Mia listened without interrupting. Each sentence stung, but she stayed still. She had learned something in recent weeks. Silence did not mean surrender. When Nora stood, the room shifted. She spoke clearly, methodically. She played the video recorded by Mrs. Alvarez. Logan's voice echoed through the courtroom, stripped of polish. The threats, the pressure, the contempt. It sounded worse here, exposed and undeniable. Logan's jaw tightened. Nora didn't stop there. She presented records, complaints filed quietly over years. A pattern. Then something heavier. Traffic reports, witness statements. A reopened investigation tied to an old hit-and-run near the river. Logan stood abruptly. "This is irrelevant." The judge's gavel struck once. "Sit down." Nora's voice remained steady. Mr. Pierce's behavior toward Ms. Parker did not begin here. It escalated because he believed no one would stop him. She turned to Mia. "Mrs. Parker, would you like to speak?" Mia stood. Her knees trembled, but she didn't falter. "I didn't ask for protection," she said. "I asked to be left alone. I asked to work, to live." He refused to see me as a person. Her voice cracked, then steadied again. "This child isn't leverage. He's not a problem to solve. He's my son." The room held its breath. The judge looked at Logan, looked again. The silence stretched, heavy with consequence. "Petition denied," the judge said. "Mr. Pierce is ordered to cease all contact. This court finds sufficient cause to refer additional matters for investigation." Logan's face drained of color. For the first time, there was no mask, only fear. Outside, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Logan pushed past them, head down, shoulders tight. Deals would vanish by evening. Doors would close, not from rumor, from record. Instant regret didn't shout. It followed. Mia stepped into the sunlight, the weight lifting slowly, unevenly, like a long-held breath finally released. Ethan placed a hand lightly at her back, not guiding, just there. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. Tears blurred the edges of everything. "I am now." Weeks later, on a quiet Saturday, the three of them returned to the café near the historic district. The same brick walls, the same narrow aisles. Morning light spilled across the floor. Ava ran ahead, backpack bouncing. She stopped at a table by the window and, with great ceremony, pulled out a chair. "This one," she announced. "This one's good." Mia laughed, easing into the seat. Ethan sat beside her. The dog settled at his feet, watchful as ever. Outside, the city moved on. Inside, time slowed. Ethan looked at Mia, then at Ava, coloring with fierce concentration. "I didn't think that day meant anything," he said quietly, pulling out a chair. Mia smiled. "It did." He nodded. "Yeah, it did." Sometimes the ground answered back, not with thunder, but with truth. And sometimes that was enough. Sometimes miracles do not arrive with thunder or fire. They arrive quietly, shaped like a chair pulled back, a door held open, a voice that says, "You matter," when the world pretends not to hear. Faith is not only found in churches or spoken in perfect prayers. It lives in daily choices. In the moment someone decides to act with kindness instead of fear. In the courage to stand up when silence feels safer. In trusting that God sees what others ignore, and that no act of goodness is ever wasted. This story reminds us that injustice may shout loudly, but truth does not need to. God's timing is often quiet, but it is never late. What looks like a small decision today can become the answer to someone else's prayer tomorrow. So when you feel unseen, remember this: God is working even in ordinary moments. And when you choose compassion, you may be part of a miracle without realizing it. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs hope. Leave a comment and tell us what this story reminded you of. And subscribe to the channel so we can continue sharing stories of faith, justice, and second chances. May God bless you and keep you.